the legislature. I am Crystal Lakanapang here with House Minority Leader and District 43 Rep. Andrea Tupola. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
You look fabulous. Thank you for being here. All right, so first off, congratulations. It's a big deal when things get heard, things get passed here, you know, because it's a long process. But you must be excited because HR 110 Reso has finally adopted into form. So tell us what this entails.
So I had introduced a resolution in regards to utilizing the actual correct Hawaiian names for places, plants, and so if you look through the reso, you can see the details of it, but it was something that, of course, as a supporter and a speaker of the Hawaiian language, I wanted to see more of this. I don't know if you heard, but Hawaiian Airlines did their first flight all in Olelo, Hawaii. So that's not just the announcement, but the whole entire flight was done in Olelo, Hawaii. And so this resolution was passed, and now it's part of law, and it is suggesting to the state that we actually start to use the correct place names for people, for places and beaches. So instead of calling it bathrooms or depots or walls, or actually using the name of the place. And I think that it'll also help for a lot of residents, Hawaiians, non-Hawaiians, people who are just born and raised here in Hawaii, to actually understand some of these place names and why they were called that.
So what you're saying is when we're watching the news, they're going to be referring to certain beaches now as the Hawaiian name? Well,
I want to see that it start happening. I mean, now that we've passed this resolution, and I think people have been open to this conversation. As you can hear in the airport, you hear the announcements being made in Olelo, Hawaii. The idea is that here in Hawaii, being connected to this place that we call home, we should know the original names of these places and know the story behind it.
I personally think that people should be pronouncing it as well. You know, that's one of my pet peeves, so I get it. Okay, so we're approaching the final weeks of the 29th legislation session. What is the next process? Because this is actually where it gets good, right? Where the rubber hits the road. What is the next process?
Well, so right now, basically we have 2 weeks left, and in these 2 weeks, they call it conference committee. This is where there's a version of the House and a version in the Senate of a certain bill that have disagreements, meaning that the Senate version and the House version differ a little bit. We go to a conference committee. The chairs of those two committees determine what version or what parts of the Senate and House, and then they come together and then we take a vote. So these next 2 weeks are kind of like the last, 858 bills that had discrepancies that we're going to go through. A lot of bills will die for sure. So next week, Friday, if bills haven't gotten a hearing and if they actually have not been scheduled, then they're dead for this whole session. So I think that this is the last section of it, and then we have one more vote on May 1st, and then the legislature is done on May 3rd.
So to give our viewers a little bit more insight, you guys initially started with 3,000 bills. What does it look like now as far as the count?
It may have been more than that. I don't know what the actual count of bills submitted for the Senate and the House. You have to remember that we're in the biennium, meaning we're in the second year of a 2-year cycle. So bills that were introduced in 2017 rolled over into this year. So anything you introduced last year, in addition to what you introduced this year, was all part of bills that could have been scheduled for hearings. So I think it's usually cut down by 90% with the bills that actually pass through and become law.
So there's a lot of disappointment at this stage.
Well, I think for a lot of people who have kind of watched their bills go through it, and you got to remember, some of these people have been year after year after year coming to the legislature asking, please pass this, and it's been either deferred in committee or maybe it went through the House and the Senate but then died in conference. And there's so many different ways that a bill can make it through, but there's so many groups of people that you have to get on board to understand and support, because if the department opposes your bill or if a huge amount of testimony comes in opposing your bill, you have to go through and try to figure out how to communicate your message to everyone that's opposing it to get everyone to understand what it's about.
On a different note, SB 2609, Rep. Thielen had motioned for this bill to be recommitted. Now, what would the bill do, and why did Rep. Thielen have it recommitted?
You know, so we had talked about this as a caucus. She wanted to take the lead on it. Of course, we all supported our caucus member. This bill specifically had to do with the disclosure of records, financial records and financial statements for members of certain boards and commissions. I know that there is a long list of the boards and commissions, but a few of the ones that you should know about was the Board of Land and Natural Resources. I think there was another one for the Water Commission, and there was some other that the conversation we had was that it's a lot of boards and commissions that make huge decisions for the state of Hawaii, and to not disclose their financial records, and of course some of the proponents of the bill or supporters, oh, but it's still going to say who they got money from, just not the quantity. Well, that's kind of a big deal to know the quantity of money that one person is getting that may or may not be influencing their decision as a board member. So people said, oh no, we need to support this so that we will attract more people to want to be on boards and commissions in the state. But there is no study and no clear nexus to say that if we put this non-disclosure on people's financial statements, that all of a sudden everyone's going to raise their hand and say, sign me up for a board and a commission. So we had proposed to recommit that bill. Rep. Thielen took the lead. We supported her. Of course, the motion failed, but we did that again. We did that last year as well. We stood up, recommitted a bill that a lot of Democrats were also opposed to. We were opposed to, and that bill eventually died. So when you recommit a bill, it's basically bringing highlight and importance to something that shouldn't be moving along in the House or the Senate.
Good to know. SB 2990, we're just moving along. Paid family leave. I initially thought we had paid family leave in Hawaii, but this is still on the table. What is this about?
So in our state, they are proposing to do an implementation board. This board will be convened with 18 board members, and they will determine what model of family leave the state will adopt. This is of concern to small business owners across the state of Hawaii because they feel like the representation is a little unequal, with only 3 of the 18 members being small business owners. Now, most of the people support paid or form of paid family leave. What people are asking is, what model are we going to be adopting? In the state of Washington, they adopted a certain model that took them 10 years to implement. And so we want to make sure to be very mindful of small businesses. I mean, as you know, there are some businesses that only have 1 employee, 2 employees. If this was to go into effect, would they be able to still support it? So we want to make sure that we are balancing both the need for paid family leave as well as the small businesses voicing out their concerns. And so that bill is still moving along.
You support education a lot, and you support the arts. What are you doing for the music and arts for your district?
So this Friday we are holding a ukulele bash. This is going to be at Ko'olina, and it's at Lagoon 4 if you'd like to come out. The students will be arriving between 3 and 4 p.m. and they're going to engage in workshops of both making and playing the ukulele, and then it'll be open to the public from 6 to 7. You can hear your West Side students perform, as well as Carly G, Honoka, and Azita, and it is a free concert for all. Ko'olina, 4 Seasons, Fourth Lagoon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rep. Tupola, for being here with us today and letting our viewers know that we should follow along to see what bill makes the final cut and keep our elected officials accountable for their actions. Until next time, with Representative Andrew Tupola, I'm Crystal Lakana Pang here live at the Ledge. We will see you next time. Aloha.